Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. I want to talk at this point about tournaments again, because tournaments are a big part of everything that we're doing here on the St. Lawrence River and how we're using the tournaments and the impact of the tournaments to hopefully spread economic well-being to our area. Because the more people that come here to experience this fishery, they've all got to bring their money and they've all got to spend it. We spend money every day. But I wanted to look at some of the impacts that I see from tournaments. And believe me, I'm the person that is most responsible for bringing a lot of these tournaments here, for better or worse. You can blame me or praise me for this. And I'm not a tournament fisherman. And my likes do not go in the direction of tournament fishing. I like to fish the backwaters, and I like to be alone, and I like to experience everything in my own way that goes back to my roots as a person and a fisherman. But here's some of the things that I think that tournaments do, how they do affect our water, and the St. Lawrence River in particular. Number one, they put a tremendous amount of pressure on the bass that are part of these tournaments. Now, that pressure can be an educational thing in response for not only the fishermen, but the fish themselves. They get used to seeing certain things. They get used to having a hook come down there that's attached to something that looks good to them, and eventually they're not going to eat that. They're going to learn that that's not a good thing. We don't want that in our mouth. We don't want that hurting us. We don't want that battle that takes place that exhausts us. And these are things that happen. That's if the fish live. So the pressure that tournaments, the best fishermen in the world are coming here. These guys put more pressure on the fish than any of us could because they're just better fishermen in most cases than we are. So the fish get smarter and the fish get maybe harder to catch. And that brings up the second point. The impact that this has on fishermen, the local fishermen, the people that enjoy going out on the St. Lawrence River. And a lot of times, number one, it makes it maybe more difficult for us to catch fish, especially in the summertime when these fish are harder to catch. And second of all, you might see a fisherman in the place that you want to go fishing, and it might change your whole course of action of what you're going to do. The other thing that I think it's important to realize that if we're having tournaments specifically out of Meissner because of the incredible Meissner intake, it's one of the best launch areas with gazebos and beautiful landscaping and slips for the boats to come in, and it just is a beautiful sight. And fishermen appreciate that. They say it's one of the best they've ever seen in the United States. But as we have more and more tournaments here, a lot of the fishermen, once they launch their boat and they get the go-ahead to go, they will travel all the way down to the Thousand Islands because in their mind, there might be more bass there. At least that's what they might think. But what happens is they got to bring those bass back unless it's major league fishing, which we'll talk about in another report, how different that is than bass or some of the other tournament trails. But they're going to put the fish in their live wells. They're going to travel all the way back. The fish are going to be weighed in at the launch site in Meissner or Waddington or wherever that tournament might take place. And then they're going to be released back into the water, and hopefully they live. But what do they do then? Do they travel all the way back to the Thousand Islands, their home, or what was once their home? Or do they make a new home of the waters around? And most studies indicate that they won't take that long trek back. They'll probably try to find a way to live in the waters that they've been put back into. And so what does that do? That increases the number of bass that are in our waters. That's theoretically looking at it. I mean, there's so many other factors that take place. But if you're putting 1,000 fish that came from another area into this area up here, then it stands to reason that there's going to be a lot more bass as the years go by that are making their home in this area. So these are some of the things that the tournaments do to impact our fishery, our waterway, and I hopefully think in a good way, our way of life here. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.